welcome back. We're diving deep today, and
boundaries.
yeah, you ever feel like you're constantly giving, and everyone else is just taking,
All the time.
like you just end up feeling so resentful,
Yeah.
and your energy's just drained.
Drained.
Yeah, so that's where boundaries come in,
Absolutely.
and that's what this whole deep dive is all about today.
That's right. Understanding boundaries in relationships.
Right. We've got this really cool piece on setting healthy boundaries, and we really want to extract some actionable insights for you guys listening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so this piece really starts off strong, and I love this point.
Okay.
It says, boundaries don't mean shutting people out. So let me unpack this a little.
Okay.
Like, how can boundaries lead to better connections?
Well, it's fascinating because boundaries are often so misunderstood, right? People think they're about shutting other people out.
Yeah.
But it's really quite the opposite.
Right.
It's more about recognizing that boundaries are an act of self-love. And paradoxically, that self-respect allows you to show up more authentically and generously in your relationships.
Wow, I love that.
Right. Think of it like a garden.
Okay.
Without fences to define the different sections, the plants can overgrow and choke each other out.
Oh, totally, yeah.
Boundaries are like those fences, right? They provide structure and space for each plant to thrive.
So we're not building fortresses.
Yeah.
We're cultivating gardens.
Yeah.
I love that analogy.
Exactly.
Okay, so this piece actually breaks down setting boundaries into 3 steps.
Okay.
Identifying your limits.
Yes.
Communicating clearly.
Yes.
And enforcing those limits.
Yes, and that last one's a biggie.
Right.
That's where a lot of people trip up.
Totally. So let's start with the first part, like those limits.
Okay.
How do we even begin to figure out what our boundaries should be?
Well, this is where self-awareness really comes in, right?
Okay.
It's about asking yourself,
Okay.
what depletes my energy? What makes me feel uncomfortable? Or disrespected? What are my non-negotiables?
Right.
And once you have a handle on these, then you can start drawing those lines in the sand.
So it's about knowing yourself first.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. But then comes the communication part, which I imagine can be really tricky.
Oh, yeah.
What are some effective ways to communicate our boundaries without sounding like we're,
Bossy.
yeah, like laying down the law?
Right. Well, the key is to be assertive,
Okay.
yet respectful.
Okay.
Using I statements.
Okay.
Like, I feel overwhelmed when.
Right.
Or I need some space to recharge when.
Yeah.
It's not about blaming the other person, but expressing your own needs and expectations. Clearly. And remember, different relationships may require different types of boundaries.
Different types.
Yeah.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all.
No, not at all. For example, emotional boundaries protect your feelings and your emotional well-being.
Okay.
You might have a friend who constantly dumps their problems on you,
Oy.
leaving you emotionally drained. Ugh, yeah.
A healthy emotional boundary there might be limiting the time you spend listening to their woes
Okay.
or gently suggesting they seek professional help.
Right. That's a great point.
Yeah.
So it's about tailoring the boundaries to the specific relationship and situation.
Exactly.
Okay, but what happens when someone keeps crossing those lines,
Yeah.
even after we've communicated them clearly?
Right.
That brings us to the third step.
Enforcing
the boundaries.
Yes, this is where a lot of people struggle.
Right.
It can be the most challenging part.
Yeah.
But remember, enforcing boundaries is a powerful way to honor yourself and your needs.
Okay.
It might mean reiterating the boundary,
Uh-huh.
creating consequences, or even distancing yourself from the relationship if necessary.
Wow. Okay, so can you give us like a real-world example to illustrate how these 3 steps might play out?
Sure. So imagine you have a coworker who consistently interrupts you while you're working,
Ugh, the worst.
making it difficult to concentrate.
So step 1, you identify your limit.
Okay.
You realize you need uninterrupted time to focus.
Right.
Step 2, you communicate.
Okay.
You politely but firmly tell your coworker that you need focused work time and ask them to please schedule a meeting if they need something.
Okay.
Step 3, you enforce.
Okay.
If they continue to interrupt, you might reiterate your boundary, put on headphones, or even relocate to a quieter space.
Right. So respecting yourself and the others through clear boundaries is the ultimate takeaway here.
Exactly. And this brings us to a final thought-provoking question.
Okay.
For all of you listening, think of a relationship in your life that needs clearer boundaries. Which of these steps feels the most challenging for you? Is it identifying your limits, communicating them, or enforcing them?
Wow.
Recognizing your sticking point is the first step to creating healthier, more fulfilling relationships.
That's a great point to ponder.
Yeah.
Boundaries are a journey, not a destination. And understanding how to implement them can truly revolutionize your relationships.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Of course. Thanks for having me.